So what can we do with Arturia's augmented voices and strings? I'm gonna show you my favorite practical application for them right now. It's always a great day when we get new ways of making crazy sounds, but at the end of the day, you might be left wondering how these actually fit into your workflow. I think the best way to incorporate new synths into your workflow is to ask a very important question, which is, what do these synths excel at? Two things. One, creating beautiful cinematic pad textures, and two, the ability to change many parameters all at once right at your fingertips. With these two, it's just a great platform for messing with sound rather than like trying to zero in on one specific thing that you're looking for. That being said, to use all of the qualities that these excel at, we're going to be sampling ourselves. Let me show you what I mean. All right, first things first, I like to have a drum loop locked and loaded and ready to go for this workflow. I have this one from another project that I thought would be perfect for this. It's basically just one less thing to worry about. It makes the whole process a lot faster. So if we just pull up augmented voices on a blank MIDI track here, as you may know, Arturia has an incredible interface for presets. And so I'm just gonna go through here and try to find a cool sound that we can use for a pad for some chords. I think this one will work well. It's called floppy disk generation if you want to check it out yourself. All right, so let's just lay down some chords here. And when you're doing this, it really doesn't have to be anything too crazy. Like if you just keep it simple, but give it some variation too, you'll be good to go. And you can see too, I didn't even have to click on, I just recorded it freely because it doesn't really matter because we're gonna be chopping it up anyway. I find that the sampling process lends itself better when you have more textures layered on top of each other, and especially textures that kind of change over time. And so that's exactly what we're gonna do. So let's just pick a different sound and then add the melody on top of what we've got already. But this time I wanna use augmented strings instead of augmented voices just for, different sort of textures. Let's use this one and put a little melody on top. And let's just repeat the process and find one more sound for another melody. Maybe something on the higher end this time since it's kind of washy at the moment. Nice and ambient, got some different textures together, and it definitely does not have to be perfect, timing-wise or otherwise. One of the best parts about using augmented strings and voices is that you get this really nice, simple interface to change the most important elements of the sound, the ones that make the biggest difference to us. And what I like to do with this is do a little bit of automation on each texture and make it change over time because that makes the sampling process even more interesting. If you're in Ableton, what you gotta do is make sure that the automation arm button is selected at the top here, and then also put it in overdub mode so that you don't record over the MIDI notes that you've got already. And then I'm just gonna start playing with these dials and make it a little bit more interesting. We'll start with the first sound. I'll solo it so you can hear what I'm doing. All right, now I'm gonna do the same thing with the other melodies and just add some more automation, make it change over time. So now that we've got everything laid down the way that we need to, here comes my favorite part, which is actually just resampling. So if you're in Ableton, you can just create a new track and set the input to resample mode, and then we can just record what we've got. And what I like to do now is put this in a sampler. So use whatever sampler you like, but right now I've really been enjoying using Serato. So I'm going to open up Serato sample, and we're gonna drag our audio right into it. Once it's in the sampler, of course, we can start messing around with the pitch. And for this, I just literally use the set random function on Serato because it's not done to a certain tempo, so you can kind of chop it however you please. And if you don't like those chops, you can just re-randomize it again and give you something different. So here's where you just kind of go down the rabbit hole and start laying some stuff down that would work over the drum loop, which is why we set that up to begin with. You can hear with this sample that the frequency spectrum is really dense. There's a lot going on from low to high. And so in these scenarios, one really nice thing that I like to do is add a notch filter that sweeps through the frequency spectrum at a certain rate. And right now mine's set to a sawtooth. Here's kind of what this filter sounds like. Just kind of makes it, you know, gives it a little bit of that sauce. The other thing I like to do is just add kind of a low pass filter at about 900 hertz because, well, A, it sounds cooler. It adds a nice contrast to the drums, and you can also lay down vocals on the top because there's more room in the frequency spectrum to fit the vocals, which is another nice bonus. So here's kind of what it's sounding like. But it's missing one very key element. Can you guess? That's right, the 808. So let's add one of those, and this beat will be well on its way. Whoo-hoo! Really easy to add variations too. Like I could just copy this part, take that kick away. Of course, this is just one way that you can use the many capabilities of augmented strings and voices, but it's my favorite kind of quick and dirty go-to like jumpstart for creativity. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, right? So what ways have you guys been using these synths? I would love to know how you guys have incorporated these into your workflow, and feel free to let me know down below. Hope you enjoy this little method that I showed you, and happy beat making. See you in the next video.